a live stream. Had to use my red thumbnail for this one because it seems I didn't actually download. There's a cat there. I didn't actually download my. That'd be fine. Didn't actually download my my green thumbnail, it seems, so I've had to resort to using my red one in the meantime. So I'll get that sorted. But I'm on my way to go and work with a client that I was working with yesterday, and we had a fantastic session. And I've kind of titled this video appropriately because this was something that was certainly a reflection on the session that we had yesterday, which was that as we were walking around for the 4 hours, and surprisingly for in London, although it was hugely busy, like the women that we wanted to go and speak to have conversations with, there really wasn't very few, or there was very few there. It was just a lot of like large groups, a lot of families, a lot of students out and about. There wasn't really anything that was appealing to my client, and to be honest, even for me as well. And that's why I thought I'd title this video that it was more about quality yesterday than quantity. So in the 4 hours that we did in fact actually really hit probably one of my lower numbers that I've done with a client. For full transparency with it, it was probably one of the lowest numbers that I've done with a client with walking around. We got about 6 or 7 approaches in, which ideally, at the minimum, I like double that. But I mean, like I say, it really was. It was what it was. It was just somewhat quiet in regards to the women he wanted to speak to. But as for conversions, it was pretty much almost near 100 over 100, which was just fantastic. I wonder if I've changed the setting here or not. I can't actually see whilst I'm on this. But yeah, so it was like 100 over 100, nearly, which is amazing. Now this is something that I want to emphasize to guys, that when you're going out, yes, it might be a numbers game, but you've got to be speaking to women though that you are attracted to at the very least. You don't want to be just speaking to literally everyone unless you're at a very early stage where it's actually important for you to speak to as many people as possible because you're looking to get that desensitization in. Now my client yesterday, he very confident guy, very well dressed, very elegantly dressed I should say, very well spoken as well, has a very sociable job, and that meant that was quite easily carried out into the approaches he was doing. Now for him, he had a lot of social anxiety, even though he's a very good looking Asian guy, but his social anxiety was there, that he struggled to just go and approach someone on his own. And that was the difficulty for him. So when we were walking around together, and I have everyone do the exact same thing, I get them to just start off, set low expectations, just break the anxiety bubble. I don't care how that first few approaches go or first approach goes. I don't care if you get success. I don't care if you get rejection. Doesn't really matter, but it's just the act of at least getting that momentum there and just speaking to people. So all I get people to do is just break that anxiety bubble first. And he did that. And then hilariously afterwards, he was kind of okay, but he at the moment is still relying on having support with him, that he needs someone there to just give him like a motivational push or a kick up the bum to go and speak to people. And for him to get nearly 100 over 100, with every girl he spoke to, we got a number from, and they were really, really cute. They were definitely like the kind of girls that I like. And also I've got this, I'm going to tip my own horn here and say, like, I've got a bit of a sixth sense with just knowing if a girl is going to be warm and open to having a conversation. They just give off this, not to sound woo-woo, in fact, yeah, no, it is kind of woo-woo, but they kind of give off this energy or this vibe that, if you were to speak to them, they'd be open for a chat. But even saying that, first impressions matter, and that's why dressing appropriately and as smart as you can is also useful as well. And I don't mean like, dressing like you're going to a wedding. I mean like just dressing as if maybe you're going to a date. Just really look presentable, just look good, and even that will just give you brownie points when you're stopping the girls, and they'll be even more inclined to at the very least hear you out. But he did really, really well yesterday. It was a bit of a bummer that we only got so many approaches in, but for him to be getting really good quality phone numbers and conversations with the women was just amazing. And it really kind of shattered, I know, a few of his limiting beliefs. But today what we're going to work on is almost kind of the opposite of what this title is. I want to just try and push him into a load of interactions, not too worried if they are women who he is attracted to, but it's more about just getting that desensitization in on the cold approaching side of things. So the more he just experiences cold approaching, the more he gets desensitized to it, and the less he's going to be phased about it. And that's what we're going to focus on the first half of the session. And then the second half of the session is that I want him to be able to make the decision on to go and approach. I don't want to have to point out a girl and say, oh, she's really cute, go and speak to her, or oh, I'm getting that spider sense feeling that if you speak to that girl you'll get a good interaction. Like, I want him to be able to identify women that he's attracted to on his own, which okay is easy enough, but I also want him to take the initiative to speak to these women, and that's what we'll focus on the latter half of the session, where I'm going to kind of take a bit of a step back and have him kind of walk in front of me a little bit, and then I can observe him. I can obviously hear him because I'll have my earphones, or not these ones, I've got my microphone set, so I use that to listen into everyone's conversations, and then I can give them feedback. But I want him though to experience what would happen if he was on his own, because ultimately I'm not going to be there standing with him or walking around with him all the time. So he needs to be mentally and physically prepared for how to handle the situations when he sees someone that he likes, whether he's on his own or with a friend. He's actually a friend of another client of mine who came as a referral, which is always wonderful. And if they go out together, he needs to be able to have that skill that he doesn't need to be pushed. And that's what I just like people to get to. Like, if they could just go and do it on their own at the very least, then that is a huge win for me. So that's kind of the plan for today. And and guys, just bear in mind, like, you don't need to worry about doing like 100 approaches or 200 approaches, or okay, I'll tone it down. I'll say, like, you don't need to be trying to do like 50, 60 approaches a day. Yes, it will help you with your desensitization, but if you're not going to be able to learn or develop the skill of having an actual conversation with someone, then it's only going to get you so far. I'm not going to say it's not going to be beneficial, because it will be beneficial, but it's not going to get you that far. So we're going to see what today looks like. I'm aiming definitely to do more, get him to do more approaches than yesterday, but it really is about quality over quantity. And you don't need to be having like 20, 30 dates in a month unless you can afford it. But what you do want though is at least to have a selection of women in your life that you can choose who you want to date, who you want to let go. And because my client as well, he's looking to get himself a girlfriend. He's someone who really does love living the party life, but a lot of even like the life coaching that we had as we were walking around was really discussing what you can do to let go of the party life and actually filter these women out and qualify them to be girlfriends. And yeah, so we had some very deep and interesting discussions with that, which partially led to us talking about, like, well, you're gonna, unfortunately, as much as there's always going to be that temptation there to sleep with these women that you're meeting, you might have to consider not rushing it so quickly, or you'll have to filter the girls and then decide that if you're going to date them or if you want to sleep with them, suggest about seeing them again, or put them into categories of, like, is this a girl that you're just going to have a bit of fun with, and you're honest with them about that, Or are these women that you'd like to see again? And if so, make sure it's very clear to them that you'd like to see them again, whether you're mentioning that before you sleep with them or after. But that is though for another story. Right, I'm coming up to my station now. But just remember, guys, it's quality over quantity. Don't worry about getting a stupid amount of approaches in. I want you, even if you're brand new to cold approaching, just go out and at the very least speak to one girl, just one girl who really, really gives you goosebumps. Like you're like, oh my God, I would absolutely regret not saying something to her. And I would love to date her. In fact, she could potentially be girlfriend material. Like those are the ones that you can't let go. You have to at least try for them. But yeah, so we'll leave it there. I'm going to go see my client. I'm not seeing him until I think 1 o'clock, so I've got plenty of time. But for where I live anyway, it's an absolute nightmare on the train to get into town. So peace out, guys, and I will let you know how it goes very soon.